Even though Dan and George here with the quick take after Fulham's, quite frankly, abysmal 3-1 defeat at City Ground. Why are we so shit away from home this season? Two of the most random away wins, Everton and Manchester United. But other than that, it's just been not really worth turning up, to be quite honest. And Dan, I think it was pretty evident from kick-off that Forest just wanted it more.
Yeah, we played into their hands as well. I think that's part of it. Marco said it before the game. He said it's going to be a game on transition. We're going to have a lot of the ball, and we did. And they played it on transition. Every time they won the ball, they flew down the other end. I do think Forest deserve a lot of credit for the way they set up against us, and I thought they had some standout performances in there. I thought the three best players on the pitch were all Forest players. I thought Morgan Gibbs-White was outrageously good, and Polina never really got a hold of him, and then Ola Aina, I thought was superb. I mean, I thought when we brought on Adama Traore, I thought as much as I like Ola Aina, I never saw him as someone who'd be able to deal with someone with the pace of Traore, but he never got a sniff. And then Murillo at centre back against Muniz, he just dominated. I thought those two players were superb, and Fulham didn't really have an answer. And going 1-0 down is bad enough because they dropped deeper and they played in the counter more. 3-0 down, I mean, we really blew it in that first half.
Yeah, I mean, I think the triple substitution on the
go down in folklore.
On the 32nd minute, it's just like, I think there was just a collective wince from everyone in the away end, like, in about 15 minutes time, these players are going to be getting an earful from Marco Silva. And credit where credit's due, we sort of came out in the second half and made more of a game of it, and were justly rewarded.
Yeah. I also on the triple substitution, I genuinely think some of the three players that came off probably a little bit unlucky in the sense that it could have been any three players, and the fact that the three that came off, they'll be thinking about it. That will hurt. No one wants to come off before half time. But really, you could have justified pretty much anyone coming off, barring Anthony Robinson, who I thought was pretty brilliant again.
Yeah.
But after second half, much better. I think that third goal just before half-time kills us. If we go in at 2-0, obviously it doesn't necessarily mean we still score that goal from the corner, but at 2-0 you've got a sniff. And we made a fist of it, and I think I come away feeling a little bit less shit about the whole thing, because at least the second half we saw a bit of gumption, we saw just a little bit more desire and gut to try and do something, but ultimately, when you look back, I've got a 2.5 hour drive home now and work tomorrow, and it's a bit unacceptable. And I think we'll be hearing a lot of apologies because it's really not good enough.
Yeah, it was after the goal, sort of around the 50th minute. The game opened up lots. We were hitting each other on the counter, but I think ultimately, on both sides, we just lacked quality. Like the amount of shots that we had on target, I haven't seen stats or anything, but it must be in the teens at least, maybe even sort of venturing into sort of 20s, but we just didn't have that quality, we didn't have that end product. And as you said, Adama, who came on, initially looked bright, and a lot of the stuff seems to be coming from the right hand side, but then it just did drift over. It was all left hand side. That last half hour of the game, it was all Willian and Robinson. Everything that we were doing that was worthwhile was just getting shipped off there. And I guess it was just one of those games where we were just beaten on every single conceivable aspect.
We were, and I don't like boiling down a game of football to one team wanted it more, because I think it's rarely that simple.
It felt like it
was that simple. But it really felt like it. It really felt like Fulham were just a little bit like in the rain, in the East Midlands, didn't really fancy it. And Forest have got everything to play for. And I think they've got that similar gut in them that Everton had for a little bit after that point deduction. They're desperately scrapping to stay in the league. And that performance, I think they deserve a lot of credit for. I think that's the way I'm trying to reason with this, is that ultimately Forest deserved to win that game of football, and some of that was because we were so dire in the first half, but some of it was just well set up. Nuno is a very good manager, and he showed, I think, some of the things that he was best at Wolves, which was setting up a team to defend low and attack with speed. And when you've got a front three in behind Chris Wood of Gibbs-White, Elanga and Hudson-Odoi, you know that if you win the ball back in decent areas, you're going to be able to just fly. And so I was disappointed how we dealt with it. I thought Kenny Tete really struggled, and I don't think I've ever really seen him struggle like that. And the only thing I can think is he's not played much football. And coming up against Hudson-Odoi, who I think had him toast all game, it seemed like he was just a yard quicker. And I've always said about Kenny, he never looks visibly quick, but he keeps up with everyone. But tonight he just didn't. It felt like he had the yard on him every single time, and a lot of their best work came down that side of it. Hudson-Odoi and Gibbs-White down that left sort of flank were really, really good, and we didn't cope. It's just, it does feel like we didn't really match their level of desire. I thought, and you know, we come into it like, I think the City ground's a good ground, a good old-fashioned ground that makes a good noise, and it felt a little bit like we just couldn't handle it. And it felt like that quite a few places this season, where we like playing nicey football, attractive on the eye, but actually when you're up against it, you've got to have the metal to deal with it. It just didn't really feel like, it just felt like it just kept on flooding past us in the first half, that we never really stopped and were like, hang on a minute, let's just slow it down, let's stop this rush. 1-0 at half time, fine. 2-0 at half time, not great. 3-0, you can't let that happen.
What is it about this Fulham side and our inability to put in performances away from home? Because we know that we got the quality there. We've seen it in the home games that we put out, the performances that we get, and the big victories that we get. But it's like Fulham. I remember Fulham sort of in our last sort of prolonged spell in the Premier League. It was like a running joke that we just do not travel at all, and we don't do well. And it's like we're sort of going back into those days. In the Championship, it was never a problem. We always we were arguably better side away from home.
Yeah.
But what do you think it is?
I've got nothing. I've really got nothing.
Is it the atmosphere that we can't deal with? Because the Fulham players, after the first and second goal in, heads just dropped. We looked like we were lacking a leader out there. We didn't have that sort of driving force. It looked like we're just so deflated, just giving up. We're just like, Fulham aren't going to get back into this at all.
I really don't have an answer. I really don't know what it is, because I think sometimes the way we play football means that we struggle to break down teams that defend deep against us. And I'd actually expect that to be more of a problem at home. But actually this season we've been really good in transitions and on the counter-attack, which again makes you think that actually away from home that maybe suits us, because teams are maybe more willing to be a bit expansive. I really don't have an answer, because we're quite similar in every game we play. We don't really change it a huge amount. And the way I see us setting up at home isn't something that I look at and think, oh, we'll struggle playing away from home like that. So I don't necessarily think it's a tactical thing, because ultimately we can beat all of these teams, and we beat them at home. We walked these 5-0, and it was like an absolute cakewalk, and they looked awful. And obviously that was during their lowest point this season. Everything was going wrong from Steve Cooper, and was facing the sack. But it makes no sense to see that difference. And Marcus Silva said it before the game. We're in a better moment now than we were when we beat them 5-0.
Yeah,
and then I really would love an answer, but I don't have one. I think this is something that we really seriously have to address, because we've spoken about it on the pod about our poor away form, and I think a lot of the time people, up until a couple of weeks ago, were saying, oh, it's because we've got our easier away fixtures to come. You know, there are games away from home that we haven't played yet that we should be winning. But Burnley, Sheffield United, Forest, there's clearly a problem. That's not just it's because the fixtures have been in a bit of a way that means we had hard away games. We have a serious problem. 2 wins away from home is mental. I can't remember which team it was. Someone was speaking on Match Today that they've only won 3 games away from home this season. I was like, 3 would be beautiful. I would take 3 in a heartbeat. 2, there is something wrong, and I don't know how we address it really. And at least we've got our home form. I think there's always that. You've got to take the second perspective, which is, it's lovely that we're so brilliant at home. We get to see us every week putting in great performances on our home turf. But I think at the end of the season, you're going to look back, and if we fall 6 to 8 points outside of the European spots, it's our away form that's cost us. That's where we've lost the chance of European football, is by not being able to play away from home.
Yeah. Any positives to take from this game at all? I mean, I said we responded fairly well after the break, but ultimately that kind of fell. The momentum got sapped out of us after Forest, because it was so open, and both teams were hitting each other on the counter. And then as the game crept into 60, 17 minutes, Forest just did sit back, and we found it very hard to break them down. So, I mean, any other positives, any standouts for you, or was it just an absolute stinker across the board?
I thought Jedi was good. I thought Anthony Robinson was brilliant again, and consistently showing this season. I think he's hit a new level. He does seem to like continuously progress in football. I think people will look like, oh, he's spaffed across here and there. But his all-round play, his defensive work, his recovery pace, the continuous option he provides down that left flank, I thought he was probably the only positive. I think the other positive is, I guess, that rockets up arses now. Like, that's... I think Marco's going to be having a serious words, and I guess we just got to hope that there's a response on Saturday, because we don't want to fall into that position that we sort of fell into last season, where we've got a bit of gumption, a bit of momentum going towards the end of the season, and then it just splatters on the floor, and we sort of just walk over the line quite meekly in 13th or 14th. I'd love us to just put a little run together towards the end of the season. It's a shame that every time we seem to do something good at home, something bad happens away to sort of stop it from happening. Yeah. But I think that's you just got to, at least we're playing on Saturday. I think that's the positive. We've only got a few days to wait to sort of put it right. It'd be rubbish if, we had a 7 to 10 day break now, because I don't want to sit and stew in this for too long.
Thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this episode of the Fulhamish Quick Take. NordVPN is the easiest way to watch football matches and TV shows which aren't available in your region. You can also use it to protect your identity online, and you can benefit from things like cheaper flights by switching your virtual location. I use NordVPN all the time to watch ESPN Plus, which is a subscription I have that's only available in America. If I want to watch anything that's on there, I just switch my location to the USA. Hey presto, I can watch it. No fuss, really easy. And you can use up one account on up to 6 devices. So my dad sometimes logs in and uses my NordVPN subscription, and that's absolutely okay. And you can get a great deal on NordVPN right now by going to nordvpn.com/Fulhamish. You get 4 free months. Plus, if you're in the UK, USA, Canada, or Australia, you'll get a free Uber Eats voucher when you sign up using that link. So to benefit from that great rate, plus 4 free months, plus the Uber Eats voucher if you're in any of those locations, go to nordvpn.com/Fulhamish.
I mean, I still do feel like this Fulham side have got some nutty results left in us this season. We've got Liverpool to come at home, we've got City to come at home, obviously like Newcastle as well. I feel like we will have a result. This is my prediction for the rest of the season. We'll have a mad result in one of those games, and then after that, just see what happens. So I guess we've just got to kind of count our lucky stars that we're not in a position where we're sucked into that relegation vortex. We're above Brentford. Everything. Oh, we've got Brentford away as well, which that maybe that could be the day that we rectify.
Get our third away win of the season.
Get the elusive third win. Anyway, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and hopefully we can put the wrongs of today right against Newcastle on Saturday. Any inclination about how Marco can set up against Newcastle, do you think?
I think there'll be changes.
Yeah.
I think there'll be some changes. I think
triple substitution on the 20th minute.
I was really expecting coming in today that Kenny Tete would sort of lock down that right back position again to the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I think he's probably straight back out the side.
Yeah.
That makes me sad. I really like Kenny, but Marco Silva's always played on this.
He didn't look match fit.
He didn't look match fit.
Even his recovery was. He'd lose the ball and then recovering back into the box after Forest were in our final third. He looked laboured. And this was within 25 minutes. I think. It's a shame. Maybe it was just sort of too soon for Kenny. But
I think you just see the players that went off. I think, unfortunately, I actually don't know really whether Sasha was caught, what was going wrong, but I think he ultimately will fall at this point, and probably TC, although I thought he was pretty poor when he came on as well. Maybe Harrison Reed will come in.
He kind of flirted with being good.
Yeah.
He'd get the ball in the right areas and he'd drive, and then time and time again, he just get intercepted, and it was just sloppy football ultimately.
I
So
think there'll be changes, and
disjointed.
there'll be some players with a point to prove, and hopefully we'll get a reaction, because I would really like to beat Newcastle, because I feel like we just lose them every time we play them.
Yeah.
It would be nice to get a win against the Wolves.
Absolutely. Anyway, have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you on Saturday.
Go on, you Whites.